Hi everyone, so welcome back to our channel, and today we're going to talk about something that can really be challenging, and that is how do we calm our children on the spectrum when we visit hospitals. I've seen this happen so many times and everybody freaks out, yeah? And you know what, hospital is it's not a pleasant place to be, even for neurotypical children. But then when we mix autism in the picture, it's a whole new level of stress. I really hope by the end of this video you feel more empowered, and I hope you'll be able to be calmer the next day you have to visit your doctor. So the first thing we need to remember is the fact that you really need to stay calm and reassure your child. Yes, this is easier said than done. However, just remember every time a child will always mirror the emotions of the adult they are with, okay? So if you want a calm child, stay calm, reassure the child, okay? Use a soft tone, use a soft voice. As much as you'll be boiling in the inside, please don't let it out, because your child will give you double whatever you're giving. So when you have to talk to your child, just say things like, it's okay, I'm here, it is okay to feel overwhelmed, I'm here with you, in a very calm and soft tone. The second aspect is that we need to minimize sensory overload. So one of the things that I think one of the gifts you can give yourself as a parent of a child on the spectrum is to really learn how your child processes their senses. This will help you. And I did a course on this, and please go ahead and check it on the description box of this video or on our YouTube channel, Autism and Beyond, okay? You can go purchase it, and I believe it's gonna be worth your while. So as you go to hospital, you have to minimize sensory overload. And of course, how do you know your child is overloaded? It's really by knowing how they process their senses, okay? There are different ways of a way a child may process their senses, and so try as much as you can to cover that so that they are not overwhelmed. So things like earmuffs, the noise cancelling headphones, or goggles for those with light, the type of fabric that you're going to put on as you go to hospital. For example, if they have to be admitted, the type of pillow they have to use, you may need to change the pillow cover so that you're able to give them something that is more softer. And you always remember to, if your child loves to be hugged, always remember to be the one applying those pressures on their body. But of course, you need to know this. These are not things that you're going to learn in hospital. These are things that you need to be prepared as you're going to hospital. The third thing we need to remember is familiar and comfort things. And this cuts across, not just in hospital, but anytime your child has to visit a new place, always carry some familiar and comfort. It could be clothes, could be toys, could be fidgeting toys, anything that your child sometimes uses for steaming. Those are the things you carry with them anytime they have to visit a new place, including a hospital. Why? Because this gives them a sense of safety and familiarity. Remember, hospital has its own things. A lot of people, a lot of noise, sirens, bells, alarms, all those things, okay? So just for your child not to be overwhelmed by the whole of this experience, carry things that are familiar to them and the things that you truly know that they actually love and enjoy. The fourth thing we need to do is clear, simple communication. Okay? Now, communication starts from, the time you're making the decision that, okay, maybe we have to go to hospital. Of course, hospitals can be planned, like the serial appointments that we do for follow-up for children on the spectrum. But it could also be like your child who woke up with a fever. These things are not planned. But on your way to hospital, when you're making the decision to go to hospital, please start talking to your child about you actually thinking of taking your child to hospital. Communication has to be very clear, have to be very simple, okay? Do not just surprise your child that, okay, we find ourselves in hospital. No, okay? Talk about it. Tell them what is usually done in hospital, okay? One of the things that we really try to discourage is because sometimes most parents usually use hospital as a way of instilling fear into your child. If they don't do this, I'll take you to hospital. Please, I really discourage that, because you're really putting in a bad attitude towards hospital. While hospitals, we all will visit a hospital for one reason or another. Okay, so this communication has to be correct, has to be very clear, and it has to be done based on the age. Again, in this course of mine, I also taught on how to communicate for both verbal and non-verbal children. Okay, so make sure you know how to communicate and tell your child beforehand. If possible, even tell them what exactly is to be expected when they go to hospital. Okay. Now you've arrived in hospital and yes, you've had to see your doctor. Just remember to offer choices and some sense of control. Okay, you've entered the doctor, and of course your doctor has to do the history and also now, of course, now it's the examination that's usually the difficult part. Okay, so things like, do you want to lie down or do you want to sit up? But of course, it depends on what is being examined. If it's the chest, then that's fine. If it's the ears, if it's the nose, the throat, that's fine. Okay. Of course, most of them they'll not. Some, depending on the age, there are those ones who will, willingly open their mouth to see the throat. But then there are those ones you'll have to use a tongue depressor, and of course, putting a tongue depressor in someone's throat is not something interesting. And of course, they will bite, and they will scream, and they will, fight. But still, if we are able to communicate before time, we'll be able to assure them that, okay, nothing bad is going to happen. If they can carry a sibling with them so that they are able to see what the sibling is doing, so that we are also able to examine the better. If you do not have a sibling, we can use you, the adult in the room, that one as well. If that also fails, unfortunately, we may just have to use the tongue depressor to check the child's throat. And in all this, we try as much as we can to use very clear communication, very simple instructions. We may find other techniques so that we are able to really, open the throat, because you came to hospital because your child is unwell, and not examining is usually not an option. Okay, if it's a tummy, of course, that's usually one of the toughest one, because as long as the tummy muscles are tensed, you may not really be able to understand, because you really need to palpate to feel inside. So if the muscles are really tightened, you may not really be able to palpate. So sometimes that's a challenge, but for the other systems, we really try as much as you can. So we offer choices so that they're able to feel they're in control, but sometimes we have to do what can be done. One of the things that I've seen work is using calming techniques, and for me, what I've really seen is breathing exercise. Of course, this depends with the age of a child. So sometimes there are those ones, and of course, there's the age of the child and also with the level where they are on the spectrum. Those who are on level 1, level 2, when you tell them to breathe, calm down, breathe, there are those ones who can be able to do that and we're able to go through the examination. But for some, it's very difficult even to obey simple instructions. And also for those who also have other things, like for example, they have ADHD, even just the attention of staying for 30 seconds or 1 minute sometimes is too much for them. Okay, but for those who can, breathing has really usually works. It also works for the patients, who, especially for those who, I told the parent, try to teach them breathing exercise as a way of calming themselves. So I have this boy I think he's 5, and usually anytime he comes to my room, you'll see him actively breathing. It's a very good thing, because even as he breathes, you are able to go through the examination. Of course, the examination also has to be done, as fast as you can, so that you don't drag it and then the child gets overwhelmed by everything that is happening. Okay, so if you can start teaching your child breathing exercise, so that by the time they're entering the doctor's room, they're already breathing as a way of calming themselves, and just tell them, knowing nothing bad is going to happen, we have to breathe, so that the doctor needs to check you. Now, depending with what the illness is, sometimes we have to go to the lab. Yeah, just like any other child. Of course, the lab is not an easy place to go to. It doesn't matter, even for adults, it's not easy. Okay, so yes, you use the breathing techniques, but sometimes we find ways of distraction and engagement. These are those moments where you're actually allowed to use gadgets to really distract your child, so that they stop focusing on what is happening and they focus on the screen. However, sometimes even that one does not work, but the whole idea is for them to be able to be distracted, talk to them about things they like, depending with where they are and of course the age of the child. Use the gadgets so that they stop thinking. But most of them, whenever they're already overwhelmed, even the gadgets will not really help them. Okay, and usually at this point in time, you just need to continue talking to them, make them believe what is happening is just for their own good, and do what needs to be done. Then last but not least is positive reinforcement. Okay, so we really need to be talking to our children about hospitals and the fact that hospitals are not necessarily a bad place. Okay, now of course, if you have a child on the spectrum, I always recommend, it's nice when you have one doctor. Of course, they may not be available 24/7 for you, but consistency also brings calmness. Okay, so if you're used to visiting a certain doctor or a certain facility, when you're consistent, even that facility and that doctor becomes familiar with this child. I have a few clients like that. Okay, this guy, yes, he'll be screaming, but the moment they enter my room, they'll be calm. Okay, and we'll be able to do the examination as fast as possible. Of course, each day is different, but you'll notice if they are to go to be seen by any other person, it becomes I've had kids who, the parents will call you and tell you, this child has refused examination, or even a doctor colleague tells you this child has refused examination, and it's simply because that person is very new, that environment is very new. Okay, so if as a parent you're also able to be consistent with your doctor, consistent with your facility, and also use positive reinforcement. After you visited the hospital, congratulate your child for what they've been able to achieve, okay? Because it is an achievement, trust me. It's an achievement for them to be able to go through the whole process. And of course, there are times they'll be more overwhelmed than others. There are times they'll be more anxious than others. But the key thing is make sure that whatever they have done well, point it out so that they're able to do it more. And for the things that they still have to learn, also point it out and also give them ways of coping. All right? So yeah, and if you're watching up to this moment in time, please, and you have not subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe. I really hope you find this information very helpful. And yeah, tell your friend to tell their friend that they can join us. Okay? Till then, please go ahead and buy the course, and I'll see you next week with another video. Bye and take care.